We have now located our strange pilgrim Agrippa Petronius on a long bus trip from Delhi to the Kashmir border, which had just then made a brief stop over in a remote mountain village. He was shocked out of his melancholic stupor by the sight of an enchanting gypsy woman. As she walked past with her immediate family, the look she gave him shocked him to his core, a look of surprise as if she had known they were destined to meet. She had to look twice, as to absolutely confirm there was any life, any spirit in him. In India, foreigners generally have a bad reputation, are usually to be avoided. Whereas for Petronius, the woman who looked back at him in the raggedy clothes had a purity of being that he had never seen before. Her light glowed like a supernova. He knew instantly in that moment she was of another order of being, not human in the way his senses might conceive. He was like a moth attracted to her flame, a creature in perfect balance with her own eternal light and darkness. And so, without hesitation, he exited the bus and followed her into the dwindling light. She, aware of his every movement, did not look back, did not discourage or deny his right to hover on the outskirts of her camp. She had triggered in him something like a metamorphosis. Having abandoned all reason, he was now either seeking death or enlightenment, or both. Who knows? Aligning himself to the totality of her being, he followed her scent. Like a true agori, her external filth emanated the fragrance of a subtle perfume, a pure soma or amrit, the nectar of the gods. He, by a combination of stealth and idiocy, travelled deep in the pitch night, small torch in hand, inspired by her silent acknowledgement, like a silver moon in a calm, still pond. In no time, however, Agrippa Petronius was completely lost and disoriented. It was a mad thing to do, and so he was now at the mercy of fate. We can be in no doubt, of course, that he was insane. It happens, and yet who would be sane by choice? Indeed, it was sort of magnificent the way in which he abandoned everything in his pursuit of that captivating woman. Such passions will inspire a man to attempt the impossible. And so, in the short term, things weren't looking good. We can only surmise that around midnight he simply collapsed, and might even have welcomed death if he had not slipped into an exhausted sleep and dreamed before awakening that this gypsy girl had leapt upon him with the savagery of a devouring wolf, had smelt his fear and something more. This strange, frail and pathetic figure who, when set upon, did not stir, did not resist. In a moment of extraordinary poise, stared back into her beast eyes, did not panic, who should have taken flight or at least screamed, but instead opened his heart and invited her to bite. On the third day of wandering aimlessly, he finally passed out due to a combination of dehydration and exhaustion. Under the harsh conditions of the open sky, the universe of stars was inspiring, and when the night came with the bitter chills, it did not break him. He endured, he did not lose faith, and silently rejoiced. Having abandoned everything, he felt liberated from his frivolous concerns, his vain hopes and ambitions. No spark of that former life remained before him. In the distance he saw death and welcomed it. Those first nights were physically difficult, a hardship beyond anything he had ever encountered. No food, no shelter or water, no hope really. Only this impossible faith he had placed in that strange creature. The warmth of his heart the only protection against a cold that could crack stones. Nature is cruel and indifferent, he mused to himself, and yet Providence, it seems, was kind, as he awoke in a makeshift shelter, tended over by a group of gypsy children and one old lady. Upon opening his eyes, he sensed that his fever had passed. At that point he knew that whatever happened next was his destiny, that when you act from the depths of your soul, everything will be revealed. What wisdom he gained there under the open sky, what was the real meaning of all this beauty, the stars and trees, the sunrise and the wind, he mused to himself, if they do not enter into our daily lives. Finally, he had this sense of belonging and surrendered to the charity and friendliness of his hosts. And although no words were exchanged, he was accepted into the small community to the status of an honored guest. Prior to his encounter with the gypsy girl, he had hovered between death and life, as between night and morning, and thought with a soaring rapture, "I am not afraid.